Hey guys, welcome back to Loft Sports. I'm Seth.
I'm Tyler.
Doing a little bit different this week with an edition of our Big Red Report. Normally I'd be doing a review of the game that just happened this past weekend. To be honest, I really don't have any words for it or really anything to say. It is what it is. We got our asses handed to us by Minnesota. It is what it is. The boat rower rode his boat through our defense all damn night.
Gently down the street.
I said every cuss word I know, created a few more, broke, I think, 3 pins. It is what it is. It sucks, and I don't really have any words about it other than at this point it's time to just take a look at where the hell is this program. Where could it potentially be going positively, negatively? There's a lot of questions after a team like Minnesota, who, yeah, I get they were 5-0, but they didn't play anybody. They almost lost to 2 FCS teams. They're a terrible undefeated team. There's no way around that, and I guess that just even adds to the embarrassment. This was a team that, in year one, Scott Frost handed easily. We actually got the first win of his tenure against Minnesota, and it was, I think, 28-0 in early in the second quarter. So what happened in a year where we're at this point. Now I got Ty in here to provide a little bit of an unbiased opinion, as you can see his allegiances if you don't already know. Just kind of gonna see what it looks like to him, what I'm seeing. We'll just break it down from there. Alright, so a couple things that I'm seeing that I think is pretty obvious. The defense, I think, is getting coached to the point where they're not in the right positions to succeed. I can't remember how many times the last few weeks I've heard the commentators mention that, well, that was a perfect play call for this blitz that was coming. I think everybody's starting to get to the point where our defense is predictable. The blitz packages are predictable. The team speed is non-existent on defense. We are slow. That got exposed when we played Ohio State and went up against their speed. And apparently Minnesota has way faster skilled players than we do. Our linebackers were in quicksand. The running backs cut on a dime right past us. Back alley cuts all day. No backside help. Just lack of team speed. Lack of physicality in the lines. That's what I'm seeing the most. Now, as a legit hater of my Nebraska Huskers, what are you seeing a little bit? Go ahead and give kind of your take on it.
Well, a couple weeks ago, I did a self video ragging.
Go like this so that people know who you
ragging the Ohio State game and where Nebraska football was. And in that video, I think I said, quote, "You're a Minnesota. You're a Purdue, and you're an Iowa." I take that back. You're not even close to Minnesota. You're 20-some points. 34-7? You're 27 points less than Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right now, Nebraska football is the worst we've seen it in our lives, and we're not even 30. Yeah. But since 2001, Nebraska has not played in a major bowl game, BCS or New Year's Six. No. They haven't won a conference championship in that time. They've played for a few, but they've come up short.
Yep.
Right now, it's just talent. You guys do not have the talent, and I've been trying to tell Nebraska fans back home, even when I was there for a wedding last weekend, the talent is just not there. Now, can Scott Frost get it there in the next 3 to 4 years? There's potential.
There's potential there.
Do I think he can win with the system he's trying to run? Yeah, I think he can win some games. Do I think they can get back to winning a national championship with this system? Absolutely not. Nebraska needs to go out and recruit the same way Wisconsin and Iowa do. You're going to have to just get 300-pound offensive linemen that you can find at your small schools around the Midwest. You can get a flashy receiver, running back here and there, but you're going to have to coach them up. You're not going to get the 4- and 5-star talent that Scott Frost inherited inherited, and that's the key word, at Central Florida.
Oh, I was going to say
Central
there's no
Florida.
forced, yeah.
Central Florida
They
was
got guys
not a
playing
bad
on
team.
Sundays
Yeah,
right now.
Central
Yeah.
Florida, he inherited a really good team, and people say, well, the team he inherited was 0-12. I get that, but
There
there's
was
still
talent
Central
there.
Florida. There was talent. They had just played in a BCS Bowl against Baylor a few years before he
Blake
got
Bortles
there.
days.
That's right. So he inherited a pretty good situation at Central Florida. He inherited an absolute crap
Train
show
wreck. Yeah.
at Nebraska. There is no talent there. Yes, he's brought some in with Martinez, Rondell Robinson, and Maurice Washington.
Yeah.
Try saying that name 3 times fast.
Wandell Robinson.
All right, well, maybe it's just me. But anyway, there's some talent there, but there's not enough, and there's especially not enough on defense.
I think when I'm looking at it, to kind of go off what you said, talent is an issue, but I don't think it's at the positions. It's at the positions that it should never be at Nebraska. It's the line talent.
Especially
it's
in
the
the Big
offensive
Ten.
line. I mean, it's not a secret that Nebraska's all their success over all the different years with Devaney and Osborne, it was all predicated on the offensive line. It didn't matter what system we ran. If we could have ran, we basically did run what back then equates to the modern spread offense you see today with the option and everything like that. We could have ran I formation all day. Single back all day. We could have done what Wisconsin does, Iowa does. We could have done what anybody does because our offensive line was that good enough to where when you have an offensive line that good, you can play any system you want. So can the system work offensively to get us back where we are? It absolutely can in today's college football, but you need an offensive line to do it.
You're saying you think he can recruit enough talent to run that offense and win a national championship?
I'm saying when it comes down to that system, everything is predicated on the offensive line. More so, you need a dual threat quarterback. You need at least one home run hitter in the receiving core or the backfield, which he's got 2 of them. But without an offensive line, nothing matters. You've seen Adrian Martinez go from one of the preseason Heisman potential candidates to acting like he's never played football before because he's reaching on the ground for snaps, jumping for snaps over his head, off to the side, endless pressure. I mean, we're talking about, we just played Minnesota. Minnesota pressured us on 14 of our, I think it was 23 or 29 passing attempts, and they only blitzed once. And that's with a 4-man rush, and even they did a 3-man rush 7 times, and they got 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hurries out of a 3-man rush. That says more about the offense than I think talent. But that is part of talent as well, as having talent up front.
You gotta have it where
See,
it
I
matters.
think when Nebraska fans, when we're talking about talent, we've never had to address offensive line talent lacking. And I think that's what we have to see here and we have to look at right now and say, there's no offensive lineman. I think that starts on our team that would start on any other major Big Ten team right now. I don't think there's one. And the fact that we're saying that about a Nebraska team who, over the last few years, the Pelini era, Callahan era, even the Riley era, we're putting offensive linemen into the NFL. And I don't see one NFL player on this offensive line right now. And everything starts there when we're talking about the offense. Defensively, that's where all the talent seems to be lacking. We got big, fat bodies up front, which we run a 3-4, so you kind of need that. Our team speed is garbage. The fast players we do have are different than everybody else's. Wisconsin's fast outside linebackers are 6'3", 240. Ours are 6'1", 220.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the difference. I'd love to sit here and say we need to make a change at defensive coordinator, but Nebraska switched to a 3-4 2 years ago. They're still in the process of recruiting more 3-4 type players. I'm going to give him one more year before I'm calling for his head, basically. But it's damn tempting right now when Minnesota gashes you and it looks like they could rush for 25 yards a fucking play if they could. Sorry, you're going to have to add a censor. But that's where I'm at with it.
I think you got to give him more than that. I think you got to give him 5 or 6 years.
Not a defensive. I'm not talking defensive coordinator.
You're talking Frost.
I'm not talking Frost. I'm talking the defensive
okay.
coordinator.
You said not.
And
talking.
part of Frost's understanding that this is not Central Florida anymore is you're gonna have to make tough decisions. You brought those guys with you because you knew them in the coaching business. For all intents and purposes, they're your buddies in the coaching world. And in coaching, we've seen it at Nebraska when Bill Callahan was here and never fired Cosgrove. We saw that when Pelini was here and he never fired certain people. I'd hate for Scott Frost to just attach himself to this guy if he's truly not good enough. I'm not worried about that. If you ask me, do I still have complete trust in Scott Frost? I do. It just sucks that it's going to take longer than I'd like it. I truly think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm like every other Husker fan. I want the win to be now, this year, next week. But the reality is it's a year or two away because we need to recruit better offensive line talent, develop them, get them in the weight room. I mean, this is the Big Ten. It's not the Big 12 anymore.
That's right.
Most of these good Big Ten teams have juniors and seniors on their offensive line who have been lifting for 4 or 5 years, working on technique for 4 or 5 years. They're truly men playing against boys. That's what Nebraska needs to get back to. It's as simple as that. All right, so with saying that, when we're talking about not a matter of if, but when, as far as I'm concerned, I think we're 2 years away from really being the team that we thought we were going to be this year. And when I say that, I'm talking about winning the West, winning 9-10 games. I thought it was going to be this year. It's probably not going to be next year. I'm just already relegating myself to that. I think it's in 2 years when we're at that stage. Martinez will actually be gone at that point, so it's kind of interesting that I'm there with it. But I think it's that first year after he leaves where we are where we want to be as Husker fans. 9-10 wins, controlling our destiny, maybe winning the West, going to the Big Ten championship game. How far do you think we are off from like years wise? Just looking at it unbiased.
4 to 5. The reason I say that, right now, you've got 2 teams that are where you want to be and ahead of you. Obviously, Wisconsin is the first. Mm-hmm. They've got a good coach. They've got a culture that is in place and is pumping out NFL talent at the positions you just said it matters most. Offensive and defensive line, running back, tight end. Their quarterback is never sexy. He's never flashy. It's just we're going to hand it to this dude right. We're going to hand it to this dude left. And when the defense sucks up, play action over the top.
When you have those things in place, that's what I'm saying. You can literally run any system. It doesn't matter what your quarterback's at.
And Wisconsin is the team you need to focus on first. Then Iowa is the second team. Now, I know Iowa is not elite. They're not at Wisconsin's level, but they are in place enough. Kirk Ferentz has been there 20 years. He's the longest tenured coach.
They're more established over the last few years.
They're more established. They're not getting better players than you, so it's easier to catch Iowa than it is Wisconsin because they're the same team, but Wisconsin has better talent. Wisconsin is getting closer talent to Michigan and Ohio State than Iowa and Nebraska are. But the ultimate question is, can we catch Wisconsin? I don't think you can catch them next year. You might have a chance to catch them in 2 years. But the number one thing is I guess I can't answer that question directly because it's going to depend on Frost. He's got to get these kids in here. If he thinks he can do what Pelini thought he could do and take 2- and 3-star recruits and whittle them into NFL talent, he's got another thing coming.
I mean, Pelini was a dumbass. We don't need to talk about that fucking idiot at all. Frost had his first transition class, top 25. Last year, top 20. Projected to finish again 15 to 20 this year so far in recruiting. So he's had a couple good classes, but I agree. It's going to take 2 or 3. He's done it kind of, I hate to say he's done it the wrong way, but he went for immediate skill at the sexy positions, right? Quarterback, AJ Martinez, running back, receiver, everything like that. Needs to shift the focus to, like I'm saying, Wisconsin-style offensive line, defensive line, and getting better.
Well, and that might have been
front seven.
And I've heard you say this before. Frost can be a little arrogant, and he might have been humbled by that because he thought, "Oh, I'll go get these 4- and 5-star receivers. I can have me and you blocking for you, and the system will overcome that."
There's
and that's
no
not the
questioning his confidence in himself, his system. Which right now we need that. It's better than when Mike Riley was up there and going, "Gosh, guys, I just don't know. I mean, we practice hard, and hard kids sure do try." I mean, it's different. Now, we need somebody like that who's confident enough to weather the storm and get up these kids' asses.
Well, in weathering the storm, you guys, as fans, need to weather. It took Tom Osborne a while before he was able to get over the hump. If in 2 years he's not where you want him to be, you better not be running this dude out of town because I'm going to tell you, it's going to take him 5-6 years, maybe even longer, to figure out how to recruit in this conference and how to win in this conference.
This is the one coach in America that Nebraska fans will give that time to.
I don't know. I'm already hearing some things from people that back home that they're very disappointed.
majority-
And he has
they're-
not made
sure,
his
they're
impact.
different.
His presence has not made an impact yet.
There's that disappointment. There's a little bit of that anger, but that's in the moment. I think right now, at the end of the year, everything like that, we're glad he's our coach. We're glad that he's here, and I think the majority of us, when I say majority, I mean at least 85-90% are behind him, or full support, unwavering.
Do you think he can win a national championship?
If there's ever somebody who can win a national championship again at Nebraska and do it the right way and sustain it, it's him. I think he can do it in time. I don't see anybody else who can, because there's a certain way to do it, and you have to be part of the brotherhood to know how that's done. That's why Wisconsin's so good. That's why Iowa's been so good.
Yeah, but Wisconsin hasn't won any national championships either.
Wisconsin, I know this sounds like just a stupid, arrogant statement right now. Wisconsin's not Nebraska. They'll never be Nebraska when it comes to the tradition, the clout that we still carry. They can be good over the last 10, 15 years. They're not Nebraska. Not yet.
Yeah, but they've passed you guys. And
Doesn't
I think
matter.
the 90s are gone, though, man. I mean,
I get that.
The clout historically Nebraska carries, yes, they're still a top 15 program, but they haven't been very good.
We're one of 5 teams to win 900 games.
How many recruits is that going to get you, though, in today? Does that matter?
All I'm saying,
when you go to recruit?
It does in a way, because when we go to recruit, when we're talking about the new football facility, everything like that, the fan support, that's stuff that Wisconsin had to basically, I don't want to say trick, but you got to win to get that sort of stuff. Nebraska's been so damn good for so long. It is a sleeping giant. Wisconsin is never going to be. Basically, what I'm saying is, if we get rolling like Wisconsin's rolling now, it's going to be different, because it is going to result in playoff appearances. It is going to result in national championships. If we get to that type of consistency that they're at, we can do it better.
Okay. I don't know that I agree, but
that's fine. You're not supposed to.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you think you can go into somebody's living room and say, "Well, our program has 900 wins,"
it still matters more than you think.
Well, hey, I know all about the 900 wins club. I'm still saying, and Wisconsin is not my only argument. My argument is Ohio State, Michigan, the teams that.
What I'm saying is, when we
Ten.
get rolling, it'll be more like Ohio State, more like when Michigan's rolling, than it is when Wisconsin's rolling, because it's actually going to result into something. We'll leave it at that. All right, long video. A lot of things needed to be said, talked about. So continue watching us on Loft Sports. Catch us next time. Signing off.